Welcome to Eureka. I'm Gauhar Raza and you are watching Eureka. One of the greatest revolutions in the history of mankind, as historians, philosophers of science and archaeologists tell us, has been the Agrarian Revolution. This revolution was triggered by a very simple observation, probably made by a woman, that if you drop a seed, then you can grow it into a plant, and plant gives you many more seeds. This improved the food security of human beings many folds, and thus it also triggered the civilization. The architecture, the literature, languages, mathematics, a lot of new technologies, they probably grew in the fields. And then over a period of time, human beings kept on intervening in the nature's product, which is called seed. And then in India, when we got freedom, another revolution came, which was called Green Revolution. A country which was using green manure started using many chemicals to improve the food security. A country which depended only on monsoon now also started growing food on the basis of groundwater. These revolutions probably were great revolutions, but then came a revolution which is called Genomic Revolution. Today we have Dr. Bansal with us, who is responsible for the greatest, the biggest gene bank in the country as far as plants are concerned. Dr. Bansal, this journey of humanity, which I was talking about, which a lot of scientists have talked about, is going in which direction? Today, we are at the crossroad. There's a lot of controversy and there is a lot of hope. Are you a hopeful scientist or you are subdued by the controversies?
Well, Dr. Gauhar, you have raised a very pertinent point that today we are at a point where we need to move positively with a hope forward. Because science has gone that far that if we don't use today's science and the technology for the welfare of the mankind, and primarily through agriculture, we will be lagging behind. And when we talk of the use of today's modern tools for the improvement of agriculture, I believe we only need to use them as much as possible, of course in a very responsible manner, to increase, particularly if I talk about India, to increase or manifold the production of our food crops.
But that's a general debate. Yeah. I am wanting you to be very specific as far as genomic research is concerned. How is it going to help improve the food security in any country, in any developing country?
See, most importantly today, even if we talk of a developing country like India, there are two folds we should look at it from two angles. One is that the climate change is bothering all of us. It's not only the change related with high temperature or more droughts, it is some kind of a unpredictability of the weather, which the farmer and most of our crops were dependent on all the time. So therefore, the genomic research today can give us those tools, can give us those genes, which are otherwise locked in a gene bank. As you mentioned, we have one of the largest in the world in India. So what we are looking at...
How many samples do you have?
We have over 4 lakhs, over 0.4 million samples, which makes us
collected
almost
from
the
India
second
only.
Largest gene bank in the world. Collected not only from India, majority of them from India. For example, 2.6 lakhs are from India. Rest we have collected it from all over the world in different subcontinents, wherever these plants must have originated.
You are head of NBPGR, that is National
Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources.
Plant Genetic Resources, and this is a center which has collected 4 lakh samples, how do you maintain them? We are spending a lot of money because maintaining wouldn't be a very easy thing. But I would like to ask you, how do you do it, and do we get back the money that we are spending on it?
It's a good question. We are using all modern tools. It's a refrigerated system, which is maintaining the temperature as close as -18 to -20 degrees Celsius.
And it's maintained throughout?
It's maintaining 24/7, 365 days all throughout for the last many, many years. The kind of a modern gene
and
bank
it's very difficult to get into it
in the world. Pardon me?
It's very difficult to
of
go
course.
into
But
it.
we have got
because strong room, you have that very thick door, and then
you're
permissions
right.
are required and all those
No,
things.
you're right, but then it's not that difficult as well. Of course, we have got equipment,
For you,
we have got
being head,
jackets.
it's not.
Yes.
But for a lay person like me, it is very difficult to get into it.
Right. No, but you come over, we'll show you that. And I'm sure recently our 2 of the Honorable Ministers of Agriculture were there, and they appreciated the activity. And we are maintaining, these 12 modules, temperature, as I before said, -18 to -20 degrees Celsius. And that is done through refrigeration. And now we are going, in fact, towards more cost-effective technology. We are going to change totally our refrigerator system and making it more modern even so that we use less energy. And also, if I may mention here, though there is only initial phase at the moment, we don't know how far we'll go, and that is we're trying to move towards our,
What
hills.
is the advantage? We are spending so much of money, effort, energy. What is the advantage for the nation?
Oh, this is the national heritage we have, basically. It's our own property, really speaking. You must also please, see that we, after 1993.
Are we losing? Because there was a period when everybody talked of uniculture.
No, I'll tell
Everybody
you about
talked of resistant
I will tell you.
varieties of various things. And a lot of variety was lost during that period.
So
is it advantageous now to collect and keep them?
That's the whole advantage which you just mentioned yourself. This is true that our farmers prefer to grow only those high-yielding varieties, naturally, where he gets more income, more profit.
Absolutely.
But in the meanwhile, there were varieties, again farmers' varieties, obsolete varieties, primitive cultivars, which were gathered, domesticated by those many farmers. But those have not been lost. Those have been in fact collected by us. When I'm saying that we have got 2.6 lakh, accessions collected from India,
but
these are the ones.
man will say that let it be lost. Why are you spending so much money in keeping it?
You know what? Important is that those are the seeds where we have those genes present. This is a wealth.
So
this is
probably
gold
tomorrow,
for us.
if there is a change in the environment, if there is a difference in temperature, global temperature, then maybe one of those ones which is lost to the farmer, if it's there in the gene bank, can save the country.
Exactly.
Am I understanding correctly?
Yes, you are understanding correctly. And moreover, I must tell you as well this, that today's high-yielding varieties have been bred. Our breeders have done an excellent job. We have been able to increase our productivity, per unit area, and as a result, production. But that was the focus at one time, to increase production. But today, 2 different problems we are facing today. One is climate change, I mentioned before. Another is malnutrition. So therefore, if you want those genes...
We'll come to these 2 problems. One is social and the other one is natural.
Yes.
I have to take a break. Don't go anywhere. We are coming back soon.
Aimed at protecting the marine environment and human health, all Indian ships will now have to comply with the anti-fouling systems. Will the new merchant shipping law protect India's fragile marine environment?
How do you see this impacting the seamen?
This is going to impact a lot on their health.
Watch our new episode of Law of the Land on the merchant shipping law this Saturday at 6:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha TV.
A लगता है कि सरकार जो है वो फूड सिक्योरिटी यानी खाद्य सुरक्षा कानून को खत्म करने की दिशा में आगे बढ़ती हुई दिख रही है।
केवल कानून बना देने से बात नहीं बनती है, यू विल हैव टू अरेंज द मनी। मनी कहाँ से आएगा?
इसमें पॉलिटिकल दोगलापन है जो अच्छा नहीं लगता। आपको करना है तो दबंग होके छाती ठोक के बोलिए कि हम करना चाह रहे हैं।
That is really unconvincing. Just to save a little bit of money, you're going to deprive huge numbers of people of food security. I don't think you can justify that.
आजादी रोटी नहीं, मगर फिर दोनों में कोई बैर नहीं। भूख अगर बेताब हुई तो आजादी की खैर नहीं।
देखिए सरोकार सिर्फ राज्यसभा टेलीविजन पर।
Welcome back to Eureka. We were discussing, Dr. Bansal, you come from agrarian background.
Yes.
You come from a village.
Yes.
And then you went for higher studies.
Yes.
Had a very difficult, tough time in the childhood. There was not sufficient money and you saved money by going to a school on your feet. Couldn't afford a bus, fare, etc. Once you have come out of that situation, and today you are proud director of NBPGR, which is the apex body, how do you look back at the journey?
Well, I look back with a pride, with a self of content, that yes, there was a passion somewhere hidden, and there was a determination. Important is that if you're determined
Determination to do what?
Determined to move forward, to get higher education, to any greatest level, whatever is possible, and then convert that education into some kind of a product or translation, or help disseminate that knowledge to youngsters, to the students, which I look back and I feel very happy that I have succeeded to a little extent, I would say. Still, the passion is burning, very much, and I believe a long way to go. And fortunately, I've had a pleasure of having some excellent students with me, when I had a lab earlier at IRI. And those students, of course, still continue working with me, many of them. And we learn from each other.
You went abroad.
Yes.
For higher studies.
Yes, I did.
Right? And you saw the best of the labs and you rubbed your shoulders with best of the people, including Nobel laureates.
Yes.
Why did you come back?
Well, that's a question, which
I'm sure some of your friends would have said, don't go back.
Yes, they did.
Or you will go back, India is not a place to do science.
Right.
You will come back.
In fact, that was the very reason that I wanted to come back and contribute to whatever little extent I could to the Indian science, or even to send a message across to the youngsters that yes, we must go to a country like US or UK and Europe or any other advanced nation for that matter, to know really what the kind of scenario, kind of laboratories they have, kind of discussion in the lab meetings they go through.
The culture.
Of
doing science.
Of doing science. It's good, we should go and we should learn. But then important is that how can we contribute back to our country, to which we belong
come
to.
Back.
So that was the passion that I wanted to come back. Despite the fact that if we wanted a job, we could have got it for sure, because I happened to be working with one of the best professors in his area of research in plant molecular biology at Harvard University, Professor Lawrence Bogored, who is unfortunately no more. But then, no, I wanted to come back. We had a discussion, in fact, also at home, with my two young daughters.
When did you decide to work on abiotic plants?
Well, I have had this interest of working on abiotic stress tolerance right from my master's onward, you can say so. While during my master's I worked on chickpea and wanted to look at nodules of chickpea for nitrogen fixation. But then later soon I shifted to water stress, to drought. And then during my PhD, in fact, I had a opportunity to work with one of the greatest physiologists of this country, Professor late S.K. Sinha, and who in fact gave us an insight that how to look at the problem, how to really speaking solve a kind of an issue when you come across a plant, not happily surviving, and whether survival is important or growth is important or reproduction and producing seeds is important when we talk of production at the farmer's level. So all that in fact gave us so much of insight that never I look back, and till today I continue working in this area of
When you
abiotic
started your
tolerance.
work on chloroplast, an intervention and transformation of chloroplast, did you also know that there is going to be scarcity of water? And therefore you are working in
No,
this
the
area?
scarcity of water, I think, has always been there. And rather, as we now see, because of climate change and many other factors, going to be even more scarce. So,
And the plants are going to have more and more stress,
and
both ecological and otherwise.
right, and also it's a challenging field. It's a complex issue. It's not only this, just water is one factor.
So is it complexity
Yes.
that thrilled you, or is it the service to the nation?
It's both. When you look at a scientist, see, you already have kind of a feeling that you want to contribute, you want to understand the phenomena first of all. As a scientist, you want to go deep into it, you want to know what genes are responsible, you want to know it's not a single gene, it's a network of genes which are responsible. Even today, scientists world
But
over
this
are
is
struggling.
latest knowledge, it was not known before.
Right.
That the gene intervention is possible. But today, science knows what gene is all about, and then you can have controlled and a highly controlled and known kind of intervention into the genes, which can also run away, because there are people who are scared of that. We'll continue discussing that. Don't go anywhere. We have to take a short break.
Tradition dating back centuries. A cultural heritage that inspires and warms at once. Magic that awes. Rajya Sabha Television brings you events that embrace the wonders of India's classical arts. Conversations with the biggest names in the culture and music. Rajya Sabha Television, democracy at work.
जोसेफ रुडयार्ड किपलिंग, कवि, लेखक और पत्रकार, अंग्रेजी के पहले साहित्यकार जिन्हें मिला नोबेल पुरस्कार। दोस्तों के बीच गिग्गर नाम से मशहूर किपलिंग ने लिखी कई कविताएं, कहानियां और उपन्यास। बच्चों के हास्य हास्य लोकप्रिय हैं उनके मोगली, शेरखान और बघीरा जैसे किरदार। अब तक के सबसे युवा नोबेल विजेता किपलिंग है, किम और जंगल बुक सरी की बेमिसाल कृतियों के रचनाकार।
Welcome back to Eureka. We have today with us Dr. Bansal here, who is head of NBPGR, the greatest gene bank in the country. Dr. Bansal, you have worked, and you have worked hard. You've produced a large number of scientific articles and papers. Your contribution has been recognized by your peers as well as the country. How do you look back at this recognition? Did it give you a thrill? Did it encourage you to do more work? Or it was self-driven kind of journey that you crossed?
It was, of course, partly self-driven, but at the same time, I was encouraged by my scientist friends around. Like, I must say, the contribution, the guidance which I got from some of my peers.
Do you remember contribution of a teacher who molded you during the school period?
Yes, I do remember during school period, my teacher, mathematics teacher, and our principal.
And English teacher.
And English teacher, Dr. D.N. Sharma.
Somewhere you have mentioned that
Certainly,
English teacher also.
Dr. D.N. Sharma was greatest soul, I must tell you. And these are the teachers who really, leave behind an impression on you all lifelong. And in fact, way back in my class, 2, 3, and 4, I had a teacher, Master late Mangatram, you know, who had a passion to teach you, you know, under a banyan tree. I tell you, we have gone through that kind of schooling as well. I was fortunate, I would say so, while it was still a village, but nevertheless, that kind of an opportunity, I don't know how many of our students getting today, and everything is so modernized, but nevertheless, the education, the kind of, you know, the knowledge you gain, you know, through those lectures, not primarily based on your classroom lecture, yeah, a practical part of it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And the imagination,
yes,
that they enlarge during that period, when your personality is getting formed.
Exactly.
So, do you remember them when you get an award?
Oh yes, I do. In fact, I must tell you one thing, and which I today still always relish, is that I had fortune.
What was the contribution of the teachers and the family?
That's what I'm telling you.
Your grandparents had a great influence on you.
Yes, my dadi, mostly, I must say, you know, during my early school days, my grandmother, you know, will always take in interest whether we are doing good in school, you know, more than my grandfather.
Yeah.
It was my grandmother who was all the time associated, and you wouldn't even walk to the school, you know, to talk to the teachers, whether my, you know, grandson is doing well or not. And she was, you know, I always remember her.
That courage was transformed into your personality, which has forced you to march on.
Yes.
And not be bothered about the hurdles that you faced.
Exactly.
You were talking about hurdles that an Indian scientist faces. Which ones are the most important ones that need to be removed?
Basically, hurdles in the sense that procedural delays. You know, while we need to do good science, funds are also available plenty, I must tell you. We have to only utilize them effectively. You know, that's the concern, and we need to utilize them in an efficient manner.
National figures of expenditure on research in science and technology doesn't go along with your statement that funds are available in plenty.
In the plenty, in the sense I'm talking at an individual institute level. But otherwise, I agree with you that the expenditure on R&D, you know, must increase in our country. You know, it must be at least double to whatever present level it is. And there have been discussions. Some of our peers have been talking about it. China has done that.
It is
many
3
other
times
nations
now
have done it.
As compared to 10 years.
Exactly. Now we have a vibrant, you know, way of looking forward, you know, from the recent times as there is a change. We all, you know, talk about it. And I'm sure, I'm very hopeful. Even in scientific field, you will see, not very far, in 10 years, there will be a great change. You know, there will be certainly more development, you know, from all angles, and we are looking forward to it, and we would like to contribute even more. That's what I said, we have a long way to go still. And at one point, I missed the point that I wanted to talk about...
You are very hopeful that scientists के लिए अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं.
Scientists के लिए बिल्कुल अच्छे दिन आ गए हैं, आने वाले नहीं, आ गए हैं, और सिर्फ यही है कि हमें actually, what I keep talking to my students and to my scientists as well, कि हम लोग, we are government servants fine, but we are scientists, we do not recognize the timing like only like an officer from 9:30 to 4:30 or 5. I think it's a passion which we need to have of doing good science. You know, funds will certainly keep flowing still. Whatever we have, we must try to make good use of it and try to make a difference. You know, I'm sure necessity is the mother of invention. If we look from that angle as well, we can still contribute a lot.
But there is a problem that nation is facing, that the younger generation is not coming to do science, especially in college and university level, in large numbers. So, do you think are we losing the best brain which should have been attracted towards science?
You know what, in fact, we have a system wherein many of our young graduates, intelligent scientists and students, they go outside India. But I believe we need to have a strong mission mode program to bring them back. And bringing them back alone would not help. We need to create an environment ourselves.
That again reminds me of China, because China has done it.
Yes, and we need to do it in a very big way. And I said before that we must go to know the culture, the kind of life even they live, you know, at the social level. But again, I think as a country, we must bounce back in the scientific arena by bringing back many of our talents, you know, who are doing good. But before we bring them back, not only that bringing them back will help us. No way. We need to create all those world-class institutions.
Did you have a moment of Eureka? I've asked this question to almost every scientist who have come.
You mean...
Do you remember some moment of Eureka in your life?
No, in fact,
found it.
Through the help, or you can say with peers, support and students and family support, certainly, like I would talk about one of the experiments we did, the largest ever, which has entered Limca Book of Records, which was a great, difficult task in a way, if I may say so, but we did it. And that was this characterization of entire germplasm of wheat running into over 20,000 accessions.
And you
in a single year.
Extremely satisfied after doing that.
We really felt extremely
What would
satisfied.
be your message to the younger generation?
My message to the younger generations would be that you must try to do science. We all scientists in a way, if you look into yourself.
Every child is a scientist.
Every child has a hidden scientist in him or her. But we need to come out and try to experiment with little things. Try to do science, but only when you have a passion. Not as a job. While we do job, and we need to, because after all we have to be socially
Ask
happy.
a question
and determination.
Seek for the answer.
And have
with
determination to move forward in a positive and honest manner to as much a level as possible. And remember one thing, please, to the youngsters, that not only our own growth as an individual is important, it is, but we must contribute to the nation's growth and development as well.
And to humanities.
Because we are in a competitive world, we can't leave India behind. And when I'm doing anything, I'm being watched by rest of the world. And I must always remember one thing, that when Japan, Australia, Europe, US, they're all moving ahead, why not India? So with that passion in mind, I think we have plenty of it to contribute, and we are the largest, second largest population in the world to contribute, and I think we must, and we can certainly take India, if not later, at least in next 10 years, to a greater height, with all the support of science and the scientists and the population of our country, which is so very intelligent compared to many other people in the world.
If everybody is growing, we can also grow as a nation, and science and technology is going to be the basis for it. That is the message for the younger generation.
Yes.
Thank you very much,
It's a
Dr.
pleasure
Bansal.
talking to you. Yes.
We'll keep coming every week with a new scientist who has contributed and shaped the country. Keep watching Eureka.